A while back, I had the good fortune of seeing Oakland jangle pop band Riley, and I was immediately taken aback by their shimmery sound. That moment led me to dig deeper into the work of the lead singer Yea-Ming, including her other music project with The Rumors. I'm happy to say that she's here with me inside the digital studio to talk about a brand new, sparkling album called Residue. Joining her is Tyla Jones, founder of Total Accord Agency, creative agency dedicated to supporting artists as they navigate the music industry, making the experience both empowering and engaging for everyone involved. Let us welcome these two creatives to Surprise Cast. Yea-Ming, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And I have to say, as a fanboy, and I will say it with a lot of enthusiasm, I just recently saw the KEXP performance that dropped last week. What kind of response have you been receiving to that?
Mostly really good responses. It's been, KXP has such a big audience, so it's cool to get a lot of exposure. Just like suddenly a lot of, comments on your Instagram. Yeah. And then and we're also experiencing some trolls on our YouTube. So that's also fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no. However, you got to speak with the legendary Cheryl Waters. What was it like?
Oh, it was so amazing. It was such a trip to see her in real life, and then hear her voice, her iconic voice. And she's really so down to earth and so sweet. Like I thought usually get really nervous around people I admire, and I felt immediately comfortable around her. So she's as warm as she seems on the air.
How did you pick your set list?
We picked it collectively, and also there's a moment where we were like, we want to play our new songs, but I think within the band, everyone kind of had the agreement that it was important to play songs that were already on the album so people could revisit them if they wanted to. So I was a little bummed to not play new songs, but I think it was a good choice. And, we just picked our 5 favorite ones.
And again, people can check this out on YouTube. It is a wonderful audio experience. Put on headphones and just take it all in. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Tyla Jones, welcome to Surprise Cast. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Thanks for having me.
What have you been up to lately besides work?
Well, I have been mostly just in the music ecosystem, honestly. And work is busy, but I love what I do. So I've been just having a lot of fun, honestly, throughout all of the chaos of the music industry. I'm still enjoying it. Going to lots of good shows locally. I recently spoke at SF Music Week on the Women in Music panel, which was really inspiring. And just got back from UC Santa Barbara, also doing a music panel for women for their Women in Media conference. So I've been kind of dabbling in different realms, which has been really exciting for me, besides the usual booking stuff.
Tell me a little bit more about those speaking experiences.
They were surreal. I was asked to be on these panels kind of, I'm a little bit of a newbie, I think, in like the music industry. So I was around some powerhouses, women I look up to who've been doing this forever, who are groundbreaking people, like Tina Davis, who's the president of Empire Records. There is some other amazing women who are like Grammy nominated and winning, engineers and talent acquisitions at Interscope, and just very high touch women. And then there was me. So I felt a little like fish out of water, but then I'm glad I did them because it really pushed me and it helped me not just network, but I got to just be inspired as well, which was nice.
Is that something, if you don't mind me asking, you have to be invited to, or is that something you can kind of go on your own?
You are usually invited. Yeah. So I got the invite for both of those, and I was nervous to say yes because I was like, what do I know? But it did feel nice. It was kind of reassuring being on them that I do know what I'm doing. So that was nice.
Congratulations. That sounds wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. Let us now begin this conversation. I have a quote here from Banksy. Banksy says this: art should comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. Yea-Ming, speaking of art, what's been inspiring you lately?
So this is kind of funny. I started taking a singing class just a week ago. I've never really taken a singing class. I've, been in choirs in school and stuff like that. So, learned some techniques during those times, but I've never taken just like an intro to singing class. And I just kind of wanted to do that just for fun and because I've never done it. And anyway, it's at an adult school, so most of the students are retired. A lot of them are older than me, and that class has been super inspiring because a lot of these people haven't sang in professional spaces. And, they're older than me, but they're just like really excited to explore a different part of themselves. And just like, they talk about like being able to hear sound coming out of my mouth and sounding a certain way. And just hearing that sort of like self-exploration has been really joyful for me. It's also a very like non-judgy environment. Just, from being, I've been in so many judgy music spaces in my life that it's so inspiring to just feel that, that vibe, that supportive vibe and the vibes of just exploring yourself anytime you want.
How often are you taking this class?
It's just once a week. So I've only taken I just took my second class yesterday. I think it lasts maybe 8 weeks.
And what are you learning about yourself?
Well, I'm learning that it's really hard for me to sing without an instrument on me. I'm so used to singing with holding a guitar. And so I've been, like yesterday, I stood there and sang to a backing track, and I was like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So I've learned that I think that might be one thing that I want to like be able to do is just what do I do with my body when I'm singing without a guitar?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was just something that you kind of encouraged yourself to do, or did someone else say, hey, check this out?
Yeah, I think that I've always felt like an imposter being a singer. So I'm just trying to, I think, I want to learn, I just want to learn and know what I'm missing. Just see if there's anything I'm missing, see if there's any techniques that I don't know about that I don't already do. And just, just for education purposes, like I might as well, like if it makes me better, why not,
2 out of the last 5 interviews that I've had with musicians, imposter syndrome came up. And I'm sitting there going, what? Your voice is incredible. It's unique. It's different. It's original. Why? I don't understand this. It's like sweeping the nation.
Yeah.
You really feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough. Tyla, what's been inspiring you lately?
Well, I would say kind of going back to what I was talking about with these panels I've been on, I think the women in my life, inside and outside of music, are always very inspiring. But as of lately, I feel the most supported and heard by the women that I work with and collaborate with. So they're always inspiring me to keep going because I also have imposter syndrome at times. I think specifically women, we're often told to keep it chill, don't be too eccentric, don't own what you're doing as much as, men, and the patriarchy is just kind of upholding that. So I think it's something that we all support and kind of inspire each other to move through and kind of break through that feeling. So the panels definitely inspired me to kind of chip away at that feeling that I don't belong. So it's been really nice to continue to surround myself with like-minded women. And I think the other thing that's been really great for me is I also, besides Total Accord, I do booking for El Rio, which is a long-standing legacy queer dive bar, as people like to call El Rio. But it's an institution, and I'm honored to work there because I get inspired every day by the people who are doing social justice organizing and just making sure that that space is activated to do more than just throw parties and shows. It always incorporates something that's giving back to an organization or a cause or a political movement. And I'm always inspired to continue to be activated in that way there. So grateful for that as well. There's just so much, and Yea-Ming's inspiring, being able to work with her and just see a legend like her want to work with me gives me a lot of hope. So just that kind of stuff. The rosters I work with are all incredible, and my Total Accord team, a lot of good things going on to keep me inspired.
You know what? Looking at your website a few days ago, I noticed your team primarily being female. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, it is intentional in a way. I think that the women or the people that I've just gravitated to in my community and who supported me the most have been the women I've worked with. So a lot of the people on Total Accord's team are women I've worked with in previous different spaces in local music. So when they found out I was doing Total Accord, they reached out to me, were like, "Can I help?" So just so happened to be a lot more women that offered to be a part of it. But it is nice to have that naturally occurred, basically. But I was hoping that would happen, and it did. So.
And I heard interview that you really, with your core team, you really try to push this notion of let's have fun. Of course, we can take some of our artwork seriously, but let's collaborate in a spirited manner. Is that true?
Yeah, it's very true. I always keep that narrative of, remember why you're doing art and music is, yes, it's to, express yourself creatively, have a message, but, it's also to bring joy and bring people together and hopefully have fun along the way is definitely a theme that I try to keep, just to remind people. Don't take everything so seriously. I know it's a serious thing, but again, like life is too short and we should have some fun while we're doing what we love. Hopefully.
Amen. I wish you were a principal whilst I was a teacher, elementary school teacher. I think we would have gotten along just fine. Okay, I've got a quick quote here from Tina Weymouth, basis for Talking Heads, and this is what she says. If you have this passion for music, you can't stop doing it. It chooses you and doesn't release you. Yea-Ming, when did music or art stop being just a hobby and start feeling like a big part of your life?
Wow. That's a hard question. I remember being, 4 or 5, really young and getting a keyboard, like a toy keyboard. And as soon as I touched it, I just knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. And I mean, it was just in my body. It felt so good and it didn't compare to anything else after that. So, and and in the meantime, I'm growing up with strict parents who didn't want me to pursue music and whatnot. And then in my adulthood, I was like, I'm going to do it anyway. I changed my major in college from biology to music. And then unfortunately, I was kind of in my younger adult years, I was kind of just really pushed down. Like that love kind of was pushed to the side from two things, just not really believing in myself, not believing that I was allowed to do it. And also I was kind of a drunk, for a long time. I partied a lot. And so, and I think I was just too busy working a dead-end job, too busy partying to really focus on it. And I think a big change happened around my pregnancy and which was right before the pandemic. One of the things that happened was a lot of people around me there's like the sense that I was going to stop playing shows. People were like, oh, this is going to be her last show because she's pregnant now or whatever. And I kept hearing that around me, just things like that. And it really pissed me off. And so, so right around that time, I think it really lit a fire under me because I was like, am I stopping? Because I'm one of those people that kind of let what people say about me, I really internalize it. And I got so mad that I was like, wait a minute, I finally was like, I don't have to do the thing that other people think I'm going to do. I can do the thing I want to do. And then I was also kind of freaked out about, losing time because I was going to have a kid. And so, yeah, around that time, I really kind of just buckled down and really made it my main focus.
I've heard that having a child whilst trying to juggle career as a musician it's like juggling 10 plates in the air. So how in the world do you do it?
Childcare is very helpful. The public school system is very helpful. I changed careers and I started teaching. And so I've set up my schedule. So I have my mornings free. That's the main way I do it. And
Yeah.
yeah. And then, I work on stuff after my kid goes to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Tyler, what about for you? When did music or art just stop being just a hobby and really grab hold of your life?
There are a few moments that come to mind. It's tough to think of one because I grew up in a musical household. My father's a musician and artiste. He does all the art. So since I was a baby, I've been going to shows because he was in a band for a long time. I grew up just watching my dad play music. He's a percussionist mostly, but he, as soon as I could, he was giving me instruments as well. So music's always been just there. And as a kid, he started giving me records. He was like, vinyl is very important. So I was listening to soul music and just, all the funk and, everything good. Basically, my dad has great taste. So I grew up playing records and I loved putting like the feeling of putting a vinyl record on and just, it always stuck with me. And so as I became like a teenager and early adult, I started DJing, or I was a selector, I was just playing records out at different parties and bars. And I did that for a really long time just as a hobby. And then as I got more established, I guess I started getting like hired and pursued to do bigger DJ opportunities and opening up for bands. And that was my first kind of taste of like, oh, wow, maybe I should take this more seriously, and really been doing it. I consider it not a hobby anymore. It definitely is like a source of income and became really a serious aspect of who I am. And people know me as a DJ more than anything, which is funny. And then the other thing that comes to mind would be before I was working in the music industry professionally, I was working in nonprofits and doing social justice work. And I actually have a master's in anthropology. So it's not where I didn't see this happening for myself. But during the pandemic, I was laid off from my job, like most people. And I just happened to know someone that booked at the chapel here in San Francisco, which is a pretty established venue. And they were like, oh, we need someone to help us get the venue back up and running. So you might be good for it. And that's when I was like, oh, maybe this music stuff is becoming a big part of who I am in my life in a more established way. So I just kind of went with it. And then that's what opened all the doors. And I've just sort of accepted my fate. So now I'm here doing music and I'm okay with it because it's been going really well.
You mentioned DJing. Do you mind sharing a story that you can recall quickly with regards to your DJing experience?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, there's so many. I've done all kinds of stuff from DJing at museums, weddings, opening up for bigger artists. I think probably in the most recent years, one of the coolest things I've done is I got to open for The Sacred Souls. I started DJing for them before they got big, and I was helping them book shows a little bit through Folk Yeah Presents. And then they just became friends. And then they were like just asking me to DJ for them anytime they were in town. And I was like, whoa, I've really made it. So that was I just felt so happy because the crowd appreciates the kind of music I spin to, which is mostly 40s, like 60s, 70s soul, girl groups, that kind of stuff. So those were always really fun moments for me. And I'm very proud of them. So
And being a DJ, what does that do for your soul? How does it enrich it? How does it nourish it?
it's so healing. I always say that every time I leave a gig, I feel better than when I got there. Even if I'm going through something hard or I'm tired, I'm like, oh, why did I take this gig? And then I'll go. And the moment I start playing, I just feel alive. And it makes me so happy to see people love what I'm putting on. And there's no, I assume singing and being on stage is the same feeling. It just makes you feel alive to know that you're making a difference for someone.
One of the most soul crushing moments I heard from a DJ was when the pandemic hit. And those clubs were obviously vacant and obviously put a wrench in his plans for quite some time. How did that impact you?
It was an interesting thing because, I wasn't gigging for my life, but I felt empathetic for people whose whole livelihood, relied on that. So I did
Yeah.
feel sad to see that. And obviously seeing, the parties I was throwing for fundraisers and stuff. So it was disheartening, but it was also cool because people got creative on how they were going to start DJing again. So that's when the virtual DJ stuff started happening. And I felt like there was a lot more opportunity to do like streaming, and your music actually got to wider audiences than I think you could have before. So being a part of those virtual parties, as we were calling them, was actually kind of cool to see how important it is. And people jumped on and figured out how to make it work anyways. So it all ended up sort of working out. And a lot of new DJs were formed in the pandemic because of that. But yeah, it happened.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yea-Ming, you have a brand new album coming out, yeah?
Yeah.
Just when I thought that we were fine, you found your rage and became unkind.
Called Residue?
It's called Residue. It's coming out on Dandy Boy Records.
What set the emotional core of this album?
Well, I would say that album was written during a time of change. And I think actually the record before was written during a time of change. This one was written after the change kind of already happened. And so it was sort of set in a way where it's like my life had sort of settled down and my routines had come back. There were different kinds of routines. And in general, I was feeling more settled and happier. I'm feeling like I made a, good choice in my life, but still constantly just sort of barged by my memories of and change and missing how things used to be, and a time when I was very overwhelmed with the sense of like, even though it's better, these things from my past still sort of visit me all the time, and they're a part of me, and they're kind of intrinsic in who I am. And also just realizing that, change isn't perfect. It's not like you go from bad to good. You go from, whatever normal was then and whatever normal it is now. So yeah, I think just sort of that overwhelming sense of memory and grief that stays with you, and then just really learning how to accept the coarseness of change and love and grief and life resets in general.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, in the creation of this album, I'm getting a sense it was pretty therapeutic for you.
Yeah, definitely. I think, for me, music, I think the main reason why I do it is because it is therapeutic for me. It's sort of the only way I know how to cope through my life.
If you can recall a standout story whilst creating this, I'd love to hear it.
I think one of the things I was doing when I was making this album was I was experimenting with synthesizing drums, just because I've heard so many bands do it, and I was really curious, and I thought it could open some doors as far as, when I felt creatively stuck. It felt fun, like a fun experiment. So I started just like making up drum beats on Pro Tools, and so when you synthesize drums, it's like you end up playing to a perfect drum track, which is not something I am accustomed to. I usually play with a real drummer that's not like a machine. And so I think the vibe sort of was so different that it pushed me to do a different kind of music. And so there's 2 songs on the record, Sweet Opiate and Fine Afternoon, that are both very that way because they're written to synthesized drums, and they kind of became kind of disco-y and dancey, which wasn't really my intention, but I really kind of just went for it. And I was really afraid because I had the intention of replacing all those drums with real drums. And so I was really afraid of bringing it to my bandmates because the change was so different. I was worried they were going to be like, what the fuck is this disco-y bullshit, or like, And then one of the songs, Sweet Opiate, is like kind of sexy. And I was like, I thought they were going to be like, what the fuck is this trashy, like rom-com, like whatever. I don't know. I just felt like they were going to make fun of me or something. But they were super supportive and they were like grooving and they like instantly melded to the sound. And the cool thing about these guys, Owen and Rob and Luke, are they're professional musicians. They're well trained. They know how to do everything. And so they knew what to do with it. And I remember just being like, holy shit, like almost instantly within like 5 seconds, they were making it sound better. And I was just overcome with joy because I was so afraid of showing it to them.
All right. So you've heard me gush over the Riley music in terms of the output and also the audio quality. And I would say the same for this. Who mixed this? Who mastered it? Give us a little bit of those details.
I mixed the record. A lot of it was recorded by Rob Good. Yeah. From Riley and the Goods. And then, you know, I recorded like the other half of it and I mixed everything at home. This is the first time I've mixed an entire record. I've mixed other songs, like individual songs before, but this is the first time I've just been so inspired by all the women around me just doing their own thing. And I'm like, I could do it too. I know I can do it. I always felt like I was discouraged from doing it, or I always felt like men were telling me that I was doing it wrong. And I was like, you know what? I know I can do it. So I'm not sure I'll do it again because it was really stressful and my ears like hurt from it. But I mixed it. So I'm really proud of that. So thank you. and this guy, Bart Thurber, mastered it. He's really nice. He's so good, so professional, really straightforward, great communication.
The product is of high quality. And in pickleball terms, what women tend to say about men kind of teaching them, it's called mansplaining. That doesn't go well on the courts. There's a song, actually, there are two songs on this album. I would love a little bit more perspective, insight. Paper Doll, which kicks it all off, and this absolutely gorgeous track called Mistakes.
Oh.
Oh,
wow.
So good. Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind talking a little about those.
Well, Paper Doll, it really comes from my people-pleasing tendencies. It was sort of written while I was thinking about all the times I've been pissed off about spaces I've been in. And just kind of realizing that, like, number one, I don't like being here, but everyone around me thinks I like being here because I'm such a fucking people pleaser. And then just being so angry at myself. And then also just like realizing, like, wait a minute, this is my fault, my own fault. Like, I have a say in what I do and what I don't do. And I think this song was sort of written in the process of discovering that, like before, like while I was angry, but before realizing that I have autonomy. And I think in that way, it was a healing experience to write that song because it got the anger out so I could find a place where I could like self-reflect.
Well, and you feel that in the music.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's a great lead-off track. And then we go to the other side as far as tempo and feeling. That's Mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to share there?
Yeah, I love that you love that one. That one's really, really personal. That one's probably the most personal song on the record. I kind of put it last because I'm embarrassed by how personal it is, and I'm always worried that people don't like the slow songs. But in general, I'm really critical about myself, and I am always haunted by all the mistakes I've made in my life. Especially things that have hurt other people. And usually that comes from times where I've just been untrue to myself. And that feeling of guilt never goes away. I feel that guilt almost every day of my life, and I can't get away from it no matter how much therapy I do. And so yeah, I think that song just sort of reflects that feeling that I have.
And with that feeling that you have, being a mother, does that help kind of assuage some of that guilt? Because time is of the essence now in raising a child, and some of those things that you maybe from the past, those ghosts, can dissipate a little bit?
God, yeah, that's a really good question. I would say yes, but also raising a kid also brings up so much feelings of guilt of, when, I'm always worried I'm doing it wrong. Yeah. When my kid gets mad at me, I'm like, fuck, like, what did I do? Am I fucking up again? But yes, it also gives me kind of hope. Like I get to kind of start over and do the best I can and try to be very intentional. But the problem is that I'm not perfect, and I get grumpy and I'm fucking up all the time. So maybe it's teaching me to be more accepting of my mistakes, I guess.
It's a great album. Congratulations. A shout out to those players who performed with you.
For sure. Yeah.
Do you want to give them a mention again?
Yeah. So Owen Galvin, he's my long-term Rumors partner. I've been playing with him for 10 plus years. And he's been by my side this whole time. Amazing lap steel player, also guitar player, but his lap steel is just the thing that gets me in here in my heart, and has always been really supportive and he's a tasteful musician. He listens to the music. He like closes his eyes when he plays and all that stuff. Luke Robbins, who plays bass in Riley and plays drums in the Rumors. He's one of my best friends. He's so dear to me. Also very tasteful, appreciates the song before musicianship, which is something I really highly admire in musicians, and just has great taste and he has great taste in music. And I also feel like out of everyone, he has the most similar music tastes with me. And so that really helps. And his tastes are cool. I like them. And then Rob Good, who is my partner, but also the lead singer of The Goods and is my main collaborator in Riley. Amazing guitarist. He's filling in, started off temporary, but maybe more permanent in the Rumors now. And he's, of course, I love him. And he's also just an incredible musician. I always kind of like make fun of him. Like, how does it feel to be so good at your instruments? Because I really do feel like he's so good at all his instruments. So
I've told him the same thing.
Like I don't know what that feels like.
How the fuck do you do it?
Yeah. So I feel very lucky that he's, playing in the Rumors.
Well, and I would say based on several of the people that you'd mentioned, the humility, the kindness, the gratitude, at least that has been presented to me. That's what you're surrounding yourself.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, everyone take a listen to this album. It's one of those albums, I'm telling you right now, you're going to hit play. It's done. You'll be like, what? It's done? Nope. We're hitting play again. There's just so many wonderful tracks.
There was a moment in the cold of the night, shivering thoughts twisted up in knots. I wish I could go back in time.
Tyla Jones, tell us about your work and this big festival coming up.
Oh, yeah. Well, big festival coming up is Total Accord Fest. It's our second festival, and Total Accord Agency is putting it on, thus the name Total Accord Fest. But yeah, Total Accord Agency has been around for a little over 2 years, so we're still new, still figuring out who we are, what we're doing. But overall, the ethos of what we're doing is that we represent artists from the Bay Area. So we're giving artist representation with booking agents and artist management, guiding them just through the industry in general, through like consultations, I guess, giving advice on sync licensing and how to get your record published and marketing, and those types of things as well. But our main focus is booking. So putting artists in the Bay Area on bigger stages, getting them to festivals and on tour all through North America, because we saw a gap in the Bay Area. There wasn't really anything focused specifically on only Bay Area artists. There are some other outlets that do similar things, but we felt like independent up and coming artists also deserve representation if they are looking for it. A lot of people can do it themselves, but a lot of people don't want to do it themselves, so they can focus on their art. And we also really believe in, again, social justice and highlighting marginalized folks as well, and prioritizing queer artists and trans artists. And the agency itself doesn't subscribe to just one sound. We are all types of stuff. So, indie, folk, hip hop, soul, jazz, electronic. We rep DJs as well now. We're expanding into more of like an electronic DJ sector, country. Yeah, we do it all. So we want to really highlight the beautiful ecosystem of artists that we have here in the Bay Area. And some are more established than others, but we are really excited that people are responding well to what we're doing. And it's grown very quickly. So we felt Total Accord should put on a festival of some kind last year just to kind of market what we're doing. It was mostly just to be like, hey, check out Total Accord Agency. Here's a fun thing we're going to do. Come out and see some of the artists that are signed to Total Accord. And we did last year in May of 2025, the festival was 6 shows at 4 different venues. And within a year, our roster has grown tremendously because the team has grown. So we were like, well, if we do it again, how are we going to do it with all of these artists now? Because we want to make sure as many people at Total Accord can be highlighted. So then this year, we've had it expand like 3 times the size as last year. So the festival is pretty much all throughout June at a bunch of different venues. We have 14 shows that we're doing, and we are super excited because people are really supportive, and all the venues have been really great. PXB, KLW, Fern Grove. I mean, so many staples in our Bay Area music culture is supporting and helping us promote and co-presenting shows and stuff. So we're really excited. I'm really grateful that we have so many people backing us. So I'm hoping that this festival continues to spread the word what we're doing and help us continue to be able to support more artists is really the goal here. Because there's a never-ending amount of people who want representation, apparently.
Sure.
Much growth as we can get, the better at this point.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question here, and I mean it with tremendous respect.
Yes.
You said that this company has grown. Why has it grown so quickly?
I think it's grown so quickly because the music speaks for itself. The music, the artists that we have brought on to Total Accord Agency is so amazing that I think that just seeing the eclectic group that we've brought forward to the public and to the music industry at large has made a difference. People are really like, oh, wow, the Bay Area still's got great music. So I think that just sort of giving people that epiphany has helped us grow a lot. And then, like I mentioned, just there was such a big gap in the Bay Area for something like this. And so many artists wanting to be a part of it helped spread the word. So people are just like, have you heard of Total Accord? It's just really a community effort, honestly, I think is why we've grown so much. And again, our ethos is very like, have fun and find joy again. And I know getting your record turned down over and over is discouraging, but like there's other ways you can continue to feel motivated. Like we're really trying to have people not be working with an agency that's like the typical cliche agency. We really want it to be more personable, collaborative. We do fun little public events, like we put on this festival, we do mixers, we do workshops. We're doing a lot more than just being an agency. So I think that maybe is exciting for people. And I'm just, trying to keep my head above water. Didn't think it would grow so quickly, but I'm embracing it and I have a lot of support. So that's how it's growing.
I want to know a little bit more of the nuts and bolts here, because what you're telling us, I imagine some people are listening to this thinking, this is making my head spin. How do you put it all together? There are so many moving chess pieces, probably so many demands, timelines, dates you've got to meet.
Yeah, it's not for everyone, I would say. Apparently, I don't like to do things that are easy. I feel like you have to be a special person to work in music, no matter what sector you're in. But truly, I think it's just you have to always remember why you're doing it. Again, is like, there's lots of schedules, lots of calendars, different tours, different events, but you always need to ask for help, delegate where you can, time management, the usual kind of, I guess, basic answers. But it's really just communication, making sure you're on top of your communication and understanding what everyone's needs are and just mapping it out is really all it is. But nothing can get done without help. So I'm really grateful that I'm running this company and I started it, but I have, people who are, I don't like to call them my assistants, but they're supporting me and my daily stuff and admins. And now that we've grown, actually, we're doing a summer internship program because we've been getting so many amazing young ladies who've been emailing me from all these different universities all over the country being like, I'm moving back to the Bay Area for the summer, want to intern. So, it's great to be able to kind of have these trade moments too that kind of help keep things moving. And it is head spinning. I'm not going to lie. It's, that's one thing I was asked at a panel recently was, what's the one thing that no one told you would happen if you started working in music? And it was like, oh yeah, I didn't know I would work all the time. I went from a 9 to 5 to be my own boss to just being like, oh, I work all the time. And, learning how to set those boundaries, expectations a little bit more with people, which you learn the hard way. And, I'm not perfect and no one is, but it's definitely a trial and error to make sure you know how to stay sane and take care of yourself.
So if I were to, absolutely. So if I were to speak with one of your team members and ask them this question, what is one of Tyla's strengths as a leader? What would they say?
Oh my. I would hope that they would say I'm a good mentor and I'm a good listener. And I always try to come to everything with a positive, encouraging spirit because I think the center of who I am is really just always trying to think positively in any chance I can because everything in the world is so hard. And the music industry, it puts people down. It's an ego driven thing, so if your ego's hurt, people get hurt and artists are sensitive. And so are people that work in music. It's definitely a lot of badasses, but we're all tender, we're all artists at the core. So I think that I always try to be there for my team beyond just being like the logistical side of stuff. I like to be a human being throughout it.
Yeah.
I think it's important.
Yea-Ming, you're shaking your head in terms of what she just said. So tell us about your relationship and your friendship.
Well, I love Tyla so much. She's been so supportive for me and she does kind of, keep me up there. She's one of those people in my life that make it easier for me, that kind of keeps me going. And when I'm feeling down, I feel like she's got my back. And, when you ask the question about what would her team members say about her, like I want to say that, she's so loving. She's just, her heart is so big and she is a good listener. And then she's got her shit together. So, there's also, and she works really hard and she gets it, she gets the music industry pains and she gets what it feels like to be a woman in music. And so that's very valuable to I think a lot of people.
Really nice words. And I'm picking up some of those vibes as well. Tyla, if you don't mind sharing, I know there's a whole list of bands, musicians, artists. Can you give us some names?
Yes. Well, I mean, I just signed Riley to Total Accord, so more Yea-Ming, but Riley's so good. I'm just so stoked on Riley. Seeing when they first started and they're becoming like, is this going to become a thing? And then it became a thing and evolving. And then the KXP session and just how badass that was. And I've watched it and listened to it so many times. It's just so good. So I'm really excited for Riley, and anything Yea-Ming's doing is just like, I'm just so proud to work with her. But yeah, I think there's again, so many. It's so hard to pick, but I mean, Mild Universe is a very important band, I think, in the Bay Area that's been really growing and drastically becoming bigger all over the place. And they're just, I think, kind of the kind of music I love. It's very all over the place. It's more of like a collective type of group. They sound kind of like post-punk, disco, jazz. It's dancey, but it's also really makes you feel a lot of things too. It's deep. And Sam Jones, the drummer, but also he writes most of the music, he's a genius. He plays in like with May Powell, who's the singer of Mild Universe. May Powell is a big artist here in the Bay Area, but they're all kind of connected. So I feel honored to work with them. Some other artists is like Hugo de la Lune I work with. He just sold out 2 nights at SF Jazz for Noise Pop. He's very much like a kind of a darker neo soul energy, a voice that makes you cry. Like just the moment he starts singing live, everyone's crying. He just has that effect on people, and he's very honest and vulnerable about his story, the bad and the good. And that's what I look for in artists is, are you really being true to who you are and not trying to just put on a show? Like they really just like, this is me, this is my rawness. And Hugo has that. And anyone I've put him in front of is like, oh my gosh, how do I book them again? Like immediately. And I'm just really proud of him because, all artists go through their cycles where they're like, should I keep going? And I'm glad that he's continuing to keep going despite the industry putting people like him down. And, gosh, there's so many, like Aroma, an amazing act, just very theatrical. Another kind of staple here in the Bay Area. They've opened for artists like Spelling and Duckworth, and they're just so cool. I mean, Aroma's always got different costumes and makeup. They like put on a whole experience. It's never just, I'm coming on to play a set. Like they consciously put on a theater for you, which is refreshing. It's not that common to find anymore. But yeah, I mean, there's just 1,000 artists I could think of at the top of my head, but for the sake of time, I'll leave it there.
And
all the artists are on the website. You can dig deep.
And I was just going to say, can you please mention that website?
Oh, yes. It's just totalaccordagency.com. And it has our team members, and each member has their own roster. So you can kind of see who's working with who. There's just a general artist page too, where you can look at everybody. And I think that each page has a lot of good information about each artist, as well as all the information about our festival. Every single show is listed with the poster and the ticket link and all the good stuff. And also there's ways you can figure out how to get involved on there as well. So you can look into that if you feel like it.
All right. Before we wrap this up, I'm going to read another quote here. This is from Helen Keller. She says this: character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved. Yea-Ming, if you wouldn't mind sharing a critical moment in life that forced you to rethink who you are, either as an artist or a person.
I feel like I've already touched on this, but yeah, I mean, mostly having a kid really puts things in perspective. Yeah, just trying to do the best you can and trying to be authentic to yourself while also still being kind to others. It really makes you think about that kind of thing.
You've talked about kind of how you have been, you're a people pleaser.
Yeah.
And how that has benefited, but also hurt you. So, and these things that you feel not so confident Are you trying to instill these positive things as a mother into your child?
Yeah, I am. But I think, your kid learns a lot by watching you, And so I already see my kid being hard on himself. And it really pains me, to see that, So I also just know from experience being hard on yourself. When you're so hard on yourself, you tend to give up a lot and you tend to take breaks, So I've been so hard on myself in my music life that I'll have a bad show and I won't play, I won't touch my guitar for like 6 months, So it's just so unfortunate and I don't want to see that in my kid.
Yeah.
And I do everything I can to, remind him, it's not about doing it right the first time. Number one, it's not about, and number two, there's no such thing as perfection, Number three, everyone's got a different way of doing things and everyone's got a different journey. I try to teach that to him. And yet I still see him hard on himself. Although every once in a while I'll hear it reflected back to me, like when we were drawing together at some point and he, was making a comment about how my flower didn't look like the actual flower that and he was like, but that's okay. Everyone draws differently and everyone's ideas are good.
Oh,
And so that's very rewarding when I see that.
yeah,
But yeah, it's an imperfect journey, I think.
absolutely. Thank you for sharing. What about for you, Tyla? Was there a critical moment in life that really forced you to rethink who you are?
Oh, yeah. I mean, too many. But I think for me, semi recently, I lost my best friend to cancer. She was battling it for almost 7 years, and we were best friends for over 20. So for the last few years, it's been a big part of my life, navigating that and what that's like, and just trying to keep going alongside it. When she transitioned to the other side in October, everything in life was so busy. I mean, I was just like, work was peaking and so much is going on. But I think for me, Melissa going that direction, it inspired me to kind of take a look at my life and what matters. And it was just a huge pivotal moment where I was like, I don't need to be such a workaholic. I need to spend more time with my loved ones and do more things for myself, create better habits and rituals so that I can sustain my life in a more healthy manner. Therefore, everything else will go better for me because I've been just kind of in this bubble for so long, taking care of not only Melissa, but so many other people that it really made me realize life's too short. I need to kind of do it for Melissa too, because she was always very like, you need to take care of yourself and, be proud of what you do. And so I've just kind of listened to her advice and moving on into this new chapter it's been really intense, but important. And yeah, it definitely changed the trajectory of who I am for sure going through that. So yeah, it's a big thing that's happened.
Absolutely. And for both of you, I imagine there are people listening to this podcast kind of nodding their head and maybe putting their hand on their heart saying, I get what you're saying. Yeah, totally. Thank you both for being vulnerable there. Okay, we're going to end this conversation with a little bit of fun. I asked you to bring a concert stub or a piece of music memorabilia or merch to the conversation and talk about its importance. Yea-Ming, let's start with you. You want to talk about some merch or memorabilia or concert?
Well, I've not done very well with memorabilia just because I've moved so much and everything's still in storage and because I've always kind of had a hard time with keeping things around because I find them painful. But the thing I did bring today was I did keep this, which is this might be kind of like too me centric, but this is just the set list from KXP. I'm not usually that sentimental, like, cause I don't like to, it's too painful memories are so hard for me. But this I kind of put on the fridge as soon as I got home and I was like, I can't throw this away yet. And I'm not usually that kind of person. So I just, I brought that.
That is so good. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, I mean, KXP has always been like a bucket list thing to do, and it was such an honor to be able to do it, and it was so positive too. So I decided I think I can keep this one around.
So good. All right, what about for you, Tyla? Is it some merch? Is it a concert?
Yeah, I have it. Well, pretending I'm holding it up. It's buried in my closet because I have kept track of so many concert posters, like so many from me going to concerts, but also concerts that I've put on at the chapel and other places that were really important to me. I got lucky. I got to collect so many awesome original posters. But the one that I am the most stoked on is my poster from the Zombies. They did a residency at the chapel in 2022, and the Zombies have always just been like top 3 favorite bands of all time. And I got to like actually work with them and meet them and hang out with them and make them coffee a bunch because they drink coffee all day. And then at the end of the residency, they had like this specific poster that was like screen printed and it's really tripped out, like Alice in Wonderland, Acid. I mean, it's just so them. And they signed it for me. And that was just like a moment where I felt really, it was surreal. And I never get starstruck ever. I mean, to me, artists are artists. I've met a lot of famous people. I'm just like, okay, cool, great. I respect you, but you don't make me nervous. But they made me so nervous. But they were like the sweetest old men and like wore mittens because they were cold. Like they're so cute. And they were like, oh, let me sign that. And I'll never forget the moment when they signed the poster. And I have it in my closet just waiting to frame and put up in the right space. And it's like, I'm overthinking where to put it in my house because I'm like, I don't know. It has to be the perfect spot. So that's for me, like one of a million concert posters, but it's the most important one I have. So
Isn't
thank
it
you.
great? Isn't it great when you can meet artists, musicians that you respect, and there's no artifice, there's no ego, and it doesn't, it's there's no condescension within the conversation because just people, right?
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but they're out there. I mean, I
Yeah,
think most of the time, honestly, artists are not what you would think they'd be. They're very rarely come across an artist that was too cool for school, as they say,
yeah, yeah.
which is nice to know.
Yea-Ming, any concert dates? Anything else you want to share in terms of Riley work or anything we can expect?
Well, Riley is playing with Marika Christine for her record release show as part of Total Chord Fest, which we all know about. So we're very excited to play that show. That's on June 4th, I believe, at El Rio. Tyla, you can confirm that with me. And then the rumors are having our record release show at Kilowatt with Silverware and Rhymies on June 12th. And that's going to be an earlier show, and that should be super fun. So those are the main things coming up.
Yeah, and I'm so glad Kilowatt it continues to put on shows. Such a
Yeah.
staple, that community. What about for you, Tyler? Anything else you want to share regarding what we can look out for?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that Yea-Ming's next shows are part of Total Accord Fest. So thank you for that. But yeah, I mean, Total Accord Festival is my main thing. I'm really pushing. It's June 3rd through June 20th at a variety of different places. Again, you can look that up on our website, social media, and all that fun stuff. Some exciting shows that I want to plug is one of my artists I manage is Space Moth. She's amazing. She actually just did her KXP session, I think the day after Riley's with Cheryl Waters, and it was amazing. But she has a new album coming out called Inward Eye on Greenway Records, and her album release show is at Rickshaw Stop on July 20th. So that's going to be an amazing show. She's just incredible. Miriam, who is Space Moth, also plays keys in La Luz. So that's kind of how people affiliate her sometimes, but don't miss that show. And then I'm working now with Hannah Lou, who is putting up their new album. And we just put on sale today her album release show, which is coming up soon. It's on May 23rd at the Independent. So get those tickets before they're gone, because I'm sure that show will sell out. But yeah, 2 awesome women, 2 great shows that are coming to mind right now. But there's so many more. But yeah, that's the highlights, I guess.
And I would concur with you, particularly Hannah Lou. I had a great podcast conversation with her about 3 weeks ago, and this amazing album that she just released. Check it out. And I will have to ask both of you, what are your sentiments regarding Bottom of the Hill possibly closing. Is this a definite? Do we know anything else? Does anyone know?
I mean, I don't know any inside information. I know, I've only read that this was sort of, they kind of made that choice. But, Bottom of the Hill is so important to me. That was a bucket list place for me to play. Like when I was a youngster, because I grew up in the Bay Area, I was all my favorite bands played at Bottom of the Hill. And so that was sort of my dream place. And I remember the first time I played there, I was like, I finally made it or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I have this kind of dream that the mayor of San Francisco will somehow find a way to support Bottom of the Hill and make them change their minds. But I don't know any behind the scenes information. I'm just sending that message out into the ether to see if that can happen.
Tyla?
Yeah. I don't know much more than her, but I mean, from what I've gathered from talking to some of the owners is they're tired, and I think that they're happy with what they've done, and they're sort of collectively made that decision that it's time to wrap up. Not because, I know it's because things are hard. I mean, all venues are struggling, all independent venues are struggling really, really badly. But it did seem more of a this is our choice. And I do feel like they were hinting that there are people in the local music culture that might it. I don't want to jinx anything, so don't listen to me per se, but that's either my dream, my hope, or my wishes. I hope that does end up happening, but I hope it stays a venue and is run by awesome people like it has been for so long. And they've done such a good job for all these years. And again, all my favorite bands and everyone when I was younger played there. So they're still playing there. And we're also very grateful that Total Accord, our kickoff party, is at Bottom of the Hill on June 3rd. So that's exciting that we're having that. And keep a lookout for that show, actually, because we have some really big surprises we're going to announce soon that I don't think people are going to see coming. So stay tuned. I can't say anything. We'll tease.
If it weren't for Bottom of the Hill, possibly I would not have connected with Yea-Ming, because that's where I learned about Riley. So there you go. Okay, thank you both for this wonderful conversation. Congratulations on the work that you do as artists, as women, and everyone go check out Total Accord for more of those dates and locations and how to get tickets. Check out Yea-Ming's new album, Residue. You will be smiling all the way through. It's very colorful in terms of emotions. And I want to end with this quote. And it goes like this. It's by a philanthropist. Her name is Sheryl Sandberg. She says, "We need women at all levels, including the top, to change the dynamic, reshape the conversation, to make sure women's voices are heard and needed, not overlooked and ignored." My name is W, host of this podcast feature known as Surprise Cast. And remember this, everyone. Great music is all around us. All you have to do is keep your ears open. Ciao.